Hello there. I wanted to give you some feedback on your found text analysis for the color chapter, especially because you asked me some questions last week about what was going on with the analysis you wrote and what kind of improvements you could make. So one of the things I was pointing out was sentence level stuff, and I thought this week would be a good opportunity to kind of go through and show you some of the things that I noticed. So I think one of your concerns was that you only have so much room, and so you didn't want to, you wanted to make sure you had enough room to say what you needed to say. And one of the things I note is that you add quite a bit of stuff to your analysis that you don't need at all, which is taking up valuable space that you could be using for other things. Many of these elements that you've added that can come out they're often elements that are, how do I describe them? They're like descriptors about what you're doing, and it just looks like you're telling me you're doing homework, like this is a homework assignment, instead of kind of really just doing the analysis itself and telling us what the analysis is doing. So I'll give you some examples. So right here, you've got this first sentence. The chapter we discussed this week pertains to color. So in this particular sentence, you don't even need this. Like, you don't need to tell us the chapter we discussed in class. It's not relevant to your analysis. You also talk about in our book, Introduction to Multimodal Analysis. Rather than calling it our book, which kind of implies this kind of our homework class thing, you could just say in the book, because then it like helps a outside reader be introduced to it. The author, David Machen, explicates that colors in movies, art, and advertisements allow readers to feel a certain emotion or bring attention to something of significance. Great. So this lets me know you're introducing the theory and that you're planning to talk about how color allows readers to feel certain emotions and how it brings attention to things. So that's kind of key. Those really help me as a reader know what's coming. Those are signposts. Next sentence, certain colors can be used for warnings or alerts, others can be used for calming effect. So right here, you've got, like, this looks like Machen is in a new sentence. You see how it's connected because the period is here. So one of the things you can do, one, you can either move the period here to let me know that you're referring to Machen for the sentence and all the stuff that comes before it. The other thing you can do, since you already introduced him in the previous sentence, and the previous sentence talks about how color has us feel things, you can just make this a connecting sentence. You could kind of use like a semicolon and say, certain colors can be used for certain things. And then you've also gone away from that simple sentence structure that I was saying you can start working on and making more complex sentences. And then you wouldn't need this at all because you've already mentioned him earlier here, right? Okay, again, here's another example of stuff you don't need. In my analysis this week, I will interpret, children's toy magazines. So this looks like, in my homework, I will do something. So you could say I will interpret, whatever. But an even better approach, rather than saying, I'm doing my homework, is to connect to this earlier concept of colors, right? Because you already talked about colors. So what you can say is, if colors are used to do something, you can say something like, this is evident, or this is seen in colors of children's toy gun advertisements, and then that kind of introduces what's going to be coming. Now, Machen speaks to the term ideational function. He writes, BMW uses blue for the surface. And so here, once again, we've got Machen twice, right? Because you've got him in text and you've got him in the parenthetical citation. You only need him in one place, so go ahead and get him out of here, out of the parentheses. This is an APA thing, okay? And so what's also happened here is you've moved from the toy advertisement now, and we're moving to kind of the use of dark blue, maybe. This is an important concept. What's an important concept? This concept of ideational function. So that's something like, this is an important concept from our homework. You don't need that. It's implied that it's important because you're talking about it and you're using it as your analysis. So one way you can do this is you can see Machen speaks of the term ideational function in relation to how dark blue is different from the, or the blue that's used in different car colors has a different feeling, and just as we see in children's toy advertisements. Okay. So then you have, since I can remember, the Toys R Us logo has always been the same. I think right here we mean as long as I can remember. And this is because companies have a unique identity. So now you've also got some logic here that says basically the logo has always been the same, and it's because they have a unique identity. So this is actually the logic is a problem. What would work better is to say something like, as long as I can remember, Toys R Us has had a logo that's been the same. And you can say this is common, or this is or you could even just say companies have a unique identity which they do not want customers to be confused with, or companies have a unique identity. And I think what you're trying to say, which is reflected through their logo and their font and color scheme. Okay, does that make sense? So figure out one way to consider how to revise these sentences is to make sure that the sentences are actually really kind of building on the first idea and moving to the second idea in a way that's coherent. So right now what's happening is these are kind of forming choppy sentences, and if the word that starts the sentence is a little off, then it throws the whole meaning off. Like this is because something. So now it's creating a logic argument. Okay, so I'll keep moving further. Machen describes the various factors that play a role in how we interpret color in these mediums. The brightness of this advertisement is intended to engage a young audience. The image is very bright with a bright background. The child is holding a fake gun. The image connotes fun and play. The image is highly saturated, almost cartoony, the colors seem to be. All the colors are on the pale side of the spectrum. This advertisement has no dark colors because the creators do not wish the ad to look gloomy. Okay, so what I want to point out is in this section, and I'm going to change colors for a minute, speaking of colors, from here all the way from the image, the brightness is intended to engage young children, all the way to this dark colors thing. These are all a bunch of just choppy short sentences that could be brought together. Like the brightness of the advertisement is intended to engage young children. You've got bright, you could say things like, do we need very bright? You could say the advertisement is intended to engage young children through bright colors and a white background. Then maybe you have another one where the content of the advertisement, the child is holding a fake gun, which connotes fun and play. Maybe this cartoony colors is connected to the sentence with bright colors. Maybe bright colors with a white or bright cartoony colors on a white background. So hopefully you get the idea of how you could bring this all together. All right. The advertisement has no dark colors because the creators did not wish the ad to look gloomy. Okay, so here again, you've got a because the creators did not wish something. You don't really know what they wish, but what you can say is which has the potential effect. They didn't use dark colors, which may be perceived as gloomy. So you talk about kind of perception and possible readings rather than what people intended to do. The dominant blues and orange increase sensory visual of the ad. Purity has a big role in this ad. All colors are simple. This is for simplicity. So once again, you've got kind of redundancy where this could be connected into a more complicated sentence. All colors are of a natural flat. They do not range in shade of color. I'm going to change colors for you here, and I'm going to say, again, you've got two sentences that are totally related that could be connected. And then you've got another one around simplicity again, which seems related to the previous. Okay. I did not feel the image was supposed to connote coldness, calm, or other emotions, or any other emotions the color blue can promote. All right, so I'm going to cut it off now because it's going to cut me off.